Alright, some updates on the 80 Trans Am. We put a HVC2 blaster coil on it because I think that's what was causing our misfire, the blaster 2 coil, over right around 6,600, 6,700 RPM. We put a new fuel pressure gauge on there. Marshall's, that's my name. But and then I set the fuel pressure safety switch, and I set it with just the solenoid wide open, and then my uncle held the throttle around 3,000-4,000, and I hit the nitrous button and it dropped to 5, and it kept the nitrous on, and any lower and it shut the nitrous off. So, and then also the regulator wasn't put in correctly, plus when you tried to adjust it you couldn't reach it to adjust it, but it didn't matter anyway because it's put on wrong. But I got that set up right, and it actually works now, and that helped me set the fuel pressure safety switch, because you know I set it as low as, I put it on the gauge to like 5, and then I just set it to where it barely come on there, and any lower and it'd start pulsating and shut off. And then I put it back at 8 at idle, 8.5, that's what they call in this carburetor for idle. But put that on there. We put a wideband sensor in there, and the gauge went bad. So I put my gauge in there, and then my gauge went bad. So he's got a short somewhere. So I ordered another gauge, and we're going to search that short down. But we took the exhaust off of it. It's hanging over there. And we've got some straight pipes. We're going to put bullet mufflers on, so we're not running them big exhausts, which they say the X pipe's just as good as straight headers, but we're going to find out which one is better. But his brackets on the back were breaking, and the exhaust started falling off, and it was starting to rub the ground. So it needs new brackets back there. We're going to try straight headers. Then I got my uncle over here helping me, and we're going to put a drag bar on the Camaro. And then if we got time today or tomorrow, or when my son comes in, we got a 3800 Circle D stall to put in it. I think it's the 298 millimeter. But yeah, that's where we're at on the quest for 9s on spray. Oh, it's got the 250 jets in it now too, so he's going to spray 250, and I've already got the timing. I put the timing at 24 degrees for the 250 shot. The motor likes 34, so we pulled 10, 2 for 50, and then we'll check the plugs, make sure they look good, make sure we're not getting any detonating on the porcelain after each pass, and hopefully we'll get the air fuel gauge working and be able to look at that. I want it around 11.5 at with the nitrous, but yeah, that's where we're at, and we'll show you this BMR Xtreme drag bar. It's that box sitting over there by the door, but we'll show you that as we install it. We just got it jacked up. We got the jack stands on the very outside, far as we could on the axle, so we could access the drag bar, or the anti-roll bar. And we just got the tires just high enough to come off the ground. We're gonna take those off, and then we're gonna put the BMR Xtreme drag bar in it. Alright, so to get the old sway bar off, you just take that nut off, and there's a bolt that goes all the way through, so you got to hold the bolt on the other side. And then there's this little U-joint thing right here, and you take that off, you do it on both sides, and the sway bar comes out. I think we have to take that bracket off too, that big bracket, because there's another bracket that has to go on there. Oh, shook the camera there. There's another bracket that has to go on there. But we're going to go ahead and take this sway bar out, and then we'll unbox the BMR one and see what we got. Alright, we got the old sway bar out, and here's the new and improved Xtreme drag bar. It's a big one. I'm about to put it in. Check out those big meaty mounts. You replace the brackets too on where the end links mount to. Look at these big bolts. Big old bolts. Got me a free sticker. Yeah. Alright. Alright, so you just put these brackets in here like this on the driver and passenger side. You just use the stock bolts to bolt it back up. Now, one thing on the driver's side here, this piece right here, it moves this brake bracket all the way out. So you got to kind of bend them lines a little bit to get that to line back up. And mine's got the hot wire for the fuel pump, hot wire or electronics thing. And that's supposed to bolt up there too, but the way it is now, it's not going to fit. So there is a hole up here. I'm going to try to get it up there too. If not, I'm just going to zip tie it real good right there. But the next step after all that is to drill a hole right here on both sides, right there. Put the bolt in, but the instructions say to take the shock out, but I took the shock out and push it, the bottom of the shock. I took the bottom of the shock out and pushed it right there, and I think that's enough for us to get that drill in there. We're going to find out. If not, we'll go inside, and it's not hard to take the shock out. You got to take the seats out, but race car. Back seats are race car. And you access the top bolt, which we've already changed these shocks, right there. We made a little access door because we changed these shocks before. But we're going to try to get the drill in there anyway. If not, we'll take the shocks all the way out, drill the hole, put the bolts in there, and that's where we're at right now. We got the brackets on both sides. We did the brake line and fuel line, the brake line bracket. Bent the lines a little bit, got the hole line up, put the bolt in there. Now we're going to drill our holes. Alright, we got the top bolt in on both sides, got the shock back in on both sides. Now we're going to put the sway bar in. You're supposed to put them bushings out as far as you can on the sway bar per the instructions, but you want them even, so you can measure out from this bracket or somewhere in there and make sure you're even on both sides. And we're going to go ahead and put that in. We broke the drill bit on the other side, so we had to hollow that hole out and fight the drill bit out. That was a pain in the butt, but we about got her licked. No, I broke it. Wayne had got it out. We wound up having to take the bracket out to get the broken drill bit out, but then we had to hollow the hole out with a smaller drill bit, but we finally got it. That's where we're at. Now we're going to put the sway bar in. Alright, so we got the sway bar in there, and we got the brackets. We took a straight edge from the top of that over to the rear end to make sure that the U-joint and the bracket and everything was at the same angle on both sides. And then we measured out from the relocation load control arm relocation bracket over, and we got 6 inches on both sides. And then we put the end link in there, and I used the top one because this car is lowered, and I mean the car is up in the air, but the rear end's on jack stands, so you got to figure the rear end's going to come down a little. Plus, when you set in it, it's going to come down a little. It's a lot easier to have if you had like a lift and put the driver in the car and set this up, but for right now I'm just going to put it like this and then try some launches at the drag strip, and if it still body rolls, then go by the instructions to lengthen and shorten it and see what we get. But I just got to put the end link in the other side and tighten it up. That's done. It looks pretty good. Alright, so I went and got me a grease gun. The for some reason BMR didn't send me no grease, but one thing that I did have an issue with on this, see that sway bar, it's supposed to be parallel to the ground. Now the car isn't all the way down, but So when we lower the car, that's going to make it more parallel. Also, when I sit in it, it brings it down too. But either way, I had to use that top hole. Now when you use that top hole, you can't get to the nut for that hom joint thing, or whatever they call those, the end links there, to break it loose. So if I had to get in there to adjust that, I'd have to take it all the way out just to adjust it. But I don't know. I put the other one, I mean, it's as short as it'll go, and I mean, I'm still not parallel to the ground, but when we lower the car and I sit in it, it will be parallel. But now when I did this other side, it didn't line up, and I had those end links the same size. But now when I sat in the car, it almost lined up. It lined up enough to where we could put the bolt in there. But another thing that I forgot to do on this top bolt on the bracket, you're supposed to put this shim in between the bracket and the frame. But now this is a convertible, and the frame and everything is a lot beefier on the convertibles than they are on the coupes and stuff. So that was pretty much right up against the frame anyway, so I didn't use this bushing. But another thing that we had an issue with, let me get down here, that sway bar right there, it tilts up and down as the rear end's lowered and raised. And with these right here, straight up and down, as you can see, I got them canted backwards some. It was hitting right there. I mean, it wouldn't let the sway bar move at all. So I had to put those at that downward angle this way. If you can notice that with the camera, it's not straight up and down. But that was the issue I had. But I don't know, that's the way I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to take it to the drag strip and see if it'll launch straight. If it don't, you can I'll have to adjust these out down because they're up as far as they'll go. So if it whatever side, like I think the direct, don't quote me on this, but I think the directions say if it goes to the left, extend the right, or shorten the left, or something like that. But either way, if it goes to the left, I'm gonna have to lengthen the one that gets lengthened. And again, like I said, reaching that nut to adjust those with it on the top one, that's not going to be, I'm going to have to take that completely out to loosen and tighten that top nut for that end link or hom joint or wherever you want to call it. So, but anyway, that's what we got. I'm going to get down here with the grease gun and start greasing all these fittings because they need it. There's two on the lower control arm. There's two on the sway bar. There's one on the panhard bar. And then I think there's one on the front. No, there ain't one on the front of the torque arm. There might be on that bottom one. I'll get up there and check. But then there's the front ones on the top and bottom ball joints on the front of the car. I need to do those too, but that's what we got. Yep. And I'll get some videos how it launches. Hopefully this weekend I can get the ethanol content over 80, and I'll spray it with a 200 shot and right off the line and see if it launches straight. And if it don't, I'll make adjustments and I'll let y'all know how that goes and go from there. If y'all have any pointers of anything I did wrong or a better way to do this, please let me know, because first time I ever installed one, I'm not saying I did it right, but that's the way we did it.